It is 6:30. We will call the Dayton Planning Commission to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next order of business is the roll call.
You start from the left or from the right?
All right, I'll start. Peter DeMuth, present.
Darren Brown, here.
Sarah Van Asten, here.
Dennis Fisher, Mayor.
Here.
John Seabald, Community Development Director.
Amy Bettine, Assistant City Administrator.
Jason Quisbury, City Engineer.
So, for the record, we do have two commissioners absent, Paul Crossland and Peter Pressler.
Nick Pressler.
Nick Pressler. There we go.
All right. Next order of business is we've got the role of Planning Commission on here for those who need a reminder. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
If there's no changes, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. I should have asked for opposed, but next up is consent agenda. We have the Planning Commission minutes from April 4th. Any corrections or changes?
I come off really crabby, but it's fine.
In the minutes? Or?
Yes, in the minutes.
Oh,
But it's fine.
I didn't get that.
Did you read them in a crappy voice?
I mean, maybe I was crabby when I read them, but I felt like I came off crabby in the minutes, but that's okay.
I'll make a motion to approve them as is.
It's fine. I second.
We have a motion from Brown and a second from
Sarah Van
Sarah
Asten.
Van Asten. I was going to say that on the last name and didn't want to butcher it. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next up, open forum. Anyone here for open forum? Anyone online, John? All right. Next item, council update.
So April 9th, the Stephen Turn Lane bid was accepted. We went through the MSA road definitions or allocations or whatever you want to call it. There was a discussion on the roundabout on Territorial down by 81. And kind of how that'll allocate some possible costs to purchase skid steer and a used excavator. And then we had the year-end fund transfers, which wasn't very pleasant, but had to be done. We had the Zach's review in a closed meeting, but there was a synopsis or a summary that was read at the next meeting where it went pretty well. Work session on the intersections last time. Was the discussion of what intersections we'd be looking at for improvements, where they're at, as far as cost-wise, what it would take to bring them up, and the value of those improvements. There was a discussion on chip and fog seal plans, and there was a discussion on properly worded ballot questions, if we wanted to put a question on the ballot.
Is there going to be a question on the ballot? Or are you still debating that?
Yeah, that's still kind of a discussion right now. And then the garage size question came up, and that kind of went the same way that the Planning Commission that it went here, and the same with driveway aprons. We did approve to have staff look at that. Although I think it was 3-2, or I think.
No to garages, yes for aprons.
Correct.
Driveway aprons.
Yeah, there was.
Did the basements on the homes without, the homes without basements, did the garage sides ever get brought up on that? I know I missed those meetings, but did that ever get discussed? If it didn't, I didn't see anything.
In our current code, we require those to be larger than standard.
Yep. And
homes.
I guess I could disagree with that. If you're gonna have a villa patio home, you don't need a bigger garage. You're choosing to have a villa patio home, but that's what I didn't know. If it didn't appear anyone discussed that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but
Yeah, I don't believe so. The direction was is don't change anything.
don't change anything. So keep the no basements. You have a bigger garage. Okay. I know we've ran into trouble with that with the townhome development proposal already.
So that is the current code? If
Yeah.
there is no basement, the garage is
It has to be
bigger?
540 versus 440 square feet. It's current code.
I did not know that. Almost seems
And then
backwards.
look at it again.
That's what was in the packet.
Because the villas tend to be people that don't have a lot.
Correct. Or they just need a
Or they
two-car
don't want a
garage,
lot.
and
Right.
whether they end up being 440 or 500, it's the personal preference, I guess. You don't necessarily want a huge garage.
Not
Yeah,
everyone wants a huge garage.
in fact, I wouldn't.
I mean, the
surprise me.
concept probably was there's less storage because you don't have a basement,
Yeah.
therefore a bigger garage, but not
Well,
everyone
and
needs.
a lot of people that move into the villas move in because they're
Downsizing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think the last time this came up though was in the a lot of them had it's the garbage can storage, that sort of stuff, so.
I think, and that's where I liked your guys' discussion. I think that's more of a depth issue or width potentially than it is pure size.
Well, but yeah, so the square footage then,
Because you can fit garbage cans in with the two-car stall now. It's just how you arrange your garage.
We're getting off track.
But
Sorry,
anyways.
my bad. Anyway, we already talked about that.
There's a ditch stabilization project that is mostly funded by grants that was discussed. The extended home business was approved, I think, as planning commission
Yep.
recommended. In that configuration with I think it was a 5-year AP, and then and then the event center permit was approved. So, yeah, that was it. Oh, and then we had a closed meeting on the status of the Housing First lawsuit. So, that was it.
all right. Next up, we have new business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our one action item that we have, well, let's see if I can get this working. There we go. I'm calling this Kwik Trip 1187, which I assume the 1187 correlates to the store number.
Correct.
So Kwik Trip is asking for a recommendation for approval for 4 parts of this. So part 1 is a zoning map amendment to rezone the property from BP Business Park to B3 Business. The second request is for preliminary and final plat approval. The third request is a conditional use permit for motor fuel station. And then the fourth request is for site plan approval. So to try to simplify this a little bit, I'm going to do a quick summary of kind of how we got to where we're at and then go through these 4 items one by one. So how we got to where we're at. Let's see what's on the next slide. Nope. So Kwik Trip came in I believe it was 2021 with the same project. So it is a gas station convenience store with a truck stop component to it. In 2021, it went through concept plan stage, and I believe there was an application for all these same items, and it failed on, I believe it was a 3-2 vote. So, and to quickly summarize the council's opinion, this was not the highest and best use in 2021. Since 2021, we haven't had a lot of interest in it. So the interest that I'm, from my understanding from the property owner or from the owner's realtor is there's interest in industrial uses and for gas stations. And so the question that the Plan Commission and Council should consider is, has the highest and best use changed since 2021, or is this it as a convenience store and truck with a truck stop component? That's a quick summary.
Did the council have any feedback on the concept plan we should be aware of?
Yeah, so generally speaking, so the concept plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission, this is May, so it was in March, as well as with the council. The majority of the council was positive for this project. So, and I'm suspecting there'll still be a mixed vote, but as far as changes go, I don't think there was anything
I
significant.
don't remember anything, yeah.
I gotta look through the minutes that we just approved if the Plan Commission had any significant changes, though I don't believe so.
I think
But
there was
we'll
just
get
minor
into-
suggestions about enhancing
Posts.
the posts and then possibly adding,
Car wash.
plug-in, electric.
Oh, electric charging
charging
stations.
Station. And then a car wash, yes.
Yep. Okay, so the first part of this is the zoning map amendment. So once again, the request is to rezone this property from BP Business Park to B3 General Business District. The reasoning behind that is a motor fuel station is a conditional use in the B3 district, but not the BP district. So the B3 district is close to existing B3 districts. It would be appropriate to rezone that. So the B3 district is generally intended for commercial uses that are dependent upon auto-related uses. So a gas station would be the perfect example of that. You know, as opposed to a business park, which is, I'm going to call it office warehouse as an example. Any questions specific to the zoning map amendment? No? Okay, the second item is preliminary and final plat. Larger projects, generally we separate these as a separate process of you go through preliminary plat and then final plat in stages. In smaller projects like this where it's just one lot, we try to simplify it by doing it at the same time. This is a 10.3, close to 10.3 acre lot. Nothing that is really unique about it on a plat standpoint. So are there any questions related to the preliminary and final plat? Okay, the third request, yep.
Yeah, just kind of thinking about it and understanding the current use of, that's RDO, right? Yeah.
To the south.
Yep. And thinking about it from logistically with that kind of cul-de-sac bulb thing,
Yep.
is that the best scenario?
For Kwik Trip?
Well, for us as a city to own that extension all the way down, that's what I'm thinking about.
Oh,
Right.
as
We-
opposed to a private driveway?
Yes, we own whatever that is. We have to maintain it, right? We'd have to presumably plow it and all that stuff. Or does it make sense to incorporate it into one of these two parcels with this plat?
Sure.
The entirety of Maple Court you're talking about?
Yeah.
So Kwik Trip, assuming that this is approved, there's
Yep.
the word I'm looking for. They're going to be generating a lot of traffic, a lot of customers. We need to be able to service that for emergency vehicles and so on. It's in our best interest to keep that as a public road to assure that it's going to be plowed and maintained. Anything else related to the plat? Okay. So the third item is the conditional use permit for the motor fuel station. And this is just a rendering I needed something that showed a gas station, so this is it. The idea of a conditional use permit is that it requires a public hearing. The surrounding property owners have an opportunity to voice whether it's their support or opposition, and ask questions and all that. When you get into cases like this one, I mean, this is a multi-permit application, and so some things are a little duplicative, and this is one of them. So the things that are covered for a conditional use permit are also covered in the site plan review, which is a lot more in depth. Which leads us to the fourth item, which is the site plan. So the map that we have on the left is the landscape plan, and then the images on the right are renderings of what the building would look like. And there are a number of, I'm referring to as critical issues that are items that are not quite compliant with the code that are worth discussing at the Plan Commission level, and then I'll go over each one of those. So for the 4 items, we have accessory buildings, signage, parking, and landscaping. Specific to the accessory buildings within the B3 district or the business districts in general, we do not allow accessory buildings. Within the plan set, there are 2. One is the garage, which is more of a maintenance garage from.
Yeah.
Yep. And then also the trash enclosure. And so the intent here for the city code is that these be incorporated within the gas station or the primary building. And I believe this is possible to do.
I think we have figured out a way to enclose the.
Okay. And Dean, if you want to come up so we can pick you up on the microphone.
So Dean George, 1626 Oak Street, La Crosse, Wisconsin, on behalf of Kwik Trip. We have to look into figuring out a way to integrate the trash enclosure with the building, which I think it's possible on our Gen 3 store. I just don't know if we have the prototype with this smaller travel center building that we've ever done it before, but I think it's probably doable. The one that's maybe a little more difficult is that maintenance shed where we keep kind of our data, our Kubotas, like help clean the lot. But I think they're probably both doable. We'll just have to figure out a way to get them in there.
Sure. Yeah. So this will be the new prototype for all Kwik Trip.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. History
So
being made.
where you put these elsewhere, accessory buildings are,
A lot of municipalities let the dumpster enclosure be detached. Some want it detached with a roof. Some want it enclosed, connected to the building somewhere, and then the accessory building, the maintenance shed is not prevalent on our smaller locations. So it's only kind of the major indoor locations that we need in one.
Are they detached in other communities? Or are they kind of a mixed bag?
The trash enclosure is 50-50.
How about the shed?
The shed is detached in other communities.
Okay.
Question specific to the accessory buildings.
Well, since you're up here, George,
Dean.
Unless we want to wait, let you present
Oh,
everything,
sure.
or we do. I don't know. It could kind of veered a little bit here.
Okay. How about this? I will go through each of the 4 items and then we'll go back to item 1.
Perfect.
Okay. Paul? So item 2 for the critical issues is signage. So within the B3 district, we allow a maximum of 2 ground signs, up to 25 feet in height and up to 64 square feet per sign. What is being proposed is 3 ground signs, whereas only 2 of them are allowed, and all 3 of them exceed the size that's allowed. I do think for the larger pylon sign, there is reasons to support a variance for a taller sign in the corner because of the topography. So the Kwik Trip property does sit below grade of the intersection. So this is Dayton Parkway and this is Interstate 94. So as you're getting off of 94, you're going uphill and then you get to a high point and then come back down again. A 25-foot sign could not be seen by anyone.
yeah.
So again, there is, in my opinion, justification to support a variance. I would question what's being proposed is 60 feet. That's fairly significant. So, and we can get into that a little bit more. So once again, we had accessory buildings. Now it's signage. The next item. this is a nice view, is parking. So within the parking code requires a minimum parking stall size to be 10 by 20 feet, 10 feet wide, 20 feet long. What's being proposed is 9.5 feet wide. I think this is fairly easy to fix. There's also, we need to confirm with the applicant as far as how many parking stalls are needed. This is based on the amount of retail area within the building. So, but also, like, this is a big property, so I'm sure we can solve that. The fourth item is landscaping. And the amount of landscaping is based on the size of the property. So in this case, the landscaping plan is compliant when it comes to trees, but not shrubs. We've run into this on past projects. I think the code works well on small projects, but not necessarily big projects. So big as in, in this case, it's 10 acres. So the code requires 1,700 trees as opposed to what's being shown is about 500.
And that's because the code's not discriminating between hard surface or open space. It's the size of the lot. In this case,
Yeah.
a large portion of this lot is hard surfaced.
I've got to look at the code clearly if it's the whole lot or if it's takes out just the building and not necessarily hardscaping.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe we should at some point fix
Look at
that.
that.
Yep. Okay, so back to number one is accessory buildings.
I guess my question to Dean before we figure out how much we want to make you combine them is how important it is, or how easy is it? I know you said it's possible, but I guess I'm impartial, I guess.
Right.
I think that's the way we left it last planning commission on this,
Yep.
but I'm impartial, but, obviously I'd prefer you follow the code.
Sure.
But that's what I want to hear from you is how realistic it really is, so we can know if we have to make a decision, or you're saying that, no, we're going to figure it out.
I think the trash enclosure is possible. I don't know about the Kubota shed. I think our engineers are looking at that right now, and we'll have an answer before the city council meeting to figure out just how realistic it is.
I'm kind of thinking about this maybe in a different way. Trash enclosure right now is shown detached from the building.
Correct.
Can you do a larger Kubota shed and combine that?
That I think is potentially the option of kind of getting a larger trash enclosure, putting them together, and trying to get a way to fix them, integrate them into the building. I think is what they're looking at.
Yeah, instead of it being part of the main store, right?
Yeah. Right. Yep.
I have no opinion as long as it's, neat and tidy and orderly.
Yeah, there's a lot of trees in the landscaping plan and everything. It's like, so I'm impartial on whether it actually has to be attached
Yeah.
On this specific example.
So if we detach it, we need to change the code.
Or do a variance.
It's hard to justify a
Yeah,
variance.
it's hard to justify a variance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a look and figure out just how feasible it is to get it kind of attached back there to make it easier on you guys as possible. So you're not, changing code for just this one minor situation.
Okay.
I have to assume it's possible.
I assume so. I assume so too. I assume so
It's all about
too.
money, it's not a possibility.
I mean, it's kind of silly, but we have, residential lots that are this large
I was just gonna say
that have
Yeah.
larger or just as large of home and then larger,
Right.
two larger accessory, and we allow that in our code. So I actually think it's a little silly
It does seem odd that we don't allow any accessory buildings.
in our code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the
At a
placement,
minimum,
the
it
placement of
should,
these,
yeah,
most
it
people
should be
drive by.
accessory buildings, almost like a CUP, so if there's cases where it's appropriate or not appropriate, or conditions you have to put in place, and in this case, it's I don't see a big deal.
So in the future, I'll add that to the list of accessory buildings in business districts. So, okay.
I mean, that might even clean up some of the outdoor storage that everybody
Wants to have,
wants to,
and does have.
and does have, whether it's covered or not, yeah.
So as accessory buildings stand, it sounds like we're going to not do anything about it, just meaning we're going to say comply with code. Is that the direction I'm kind of hearing? from
That is
people?
my recommendation. If we say if we're okay with this, it's going to be a couple of months, it's going to delay the project a couple of months.
Let me ask this, Dean, on construction timing of this, of the site and the building, I mean, that's something that we didn't hear in the presentation.
It's next summer, so there is time to get this figured out. More critically, we just have to have
Approval.
approval
So
to,
they know that it's-
so that we can
especially
go
given-
forward with the
yeah,
personal.
especially
plan,
given
yeah.
the history.
Yes.
So I think what, at least the way I would describe it is maybe we say comply with code. We'll work on changing our code. And you'll work on maybe reducing down to one building, and either way, if one of those two pans out, it complies with code.
It works for us.
I mean,
Knowing that if you can combine it, it's gonna go faster.
Yeah.
yeah.
If you want to
Changing your
break
code.
ground even sooner, yeah.
Well, if you want to pull it apart, though, does that need another plat review or another,
It
Site
would be
review.
an amended site plan review.
okay.
Could you do that administratively if it
No.
complied with code?
No, it's got to go through here. So, I mean, I understand the direction, is just, so kind of what it is, you know, let's say council approves this as it is, meeting code. So you're going to plan, you know, theoretically, tomorrow you would plan for it in attached garage. The code's going to change, and then you submit a building permit
Seems
that
like
has a
it's changing.
detached.
Sure.
Seems like it's going to change, but I wouldn't say it's going to
Assumptions.
change.
Yep.
Right, because they got to.
It seems reasonable to allow at least one accessory
It
structure.
does.
Like,
It does, but people got to vote on it, so I don't
Yeah.
want to say that it's.
can't guarantee anything.
Okay, anything else on accessory buildings? No? Okay. Signage. So again, the code allows 2 ground signs up to 25 feet in height and 64 square feet per sign in sign area. So what we have are 3 ground signs. One of them is close to being compliant. So let's kind of go one by one. So as far as the pylon sign goes, so this is 60 feet in height, I'm just going to say 300 feet in area. What the code allows is 25 feet and 64 square feet.
I'm okay with it being taller. You said you aren't happy with the 60. I don't know. I mean, what is, because it does dip down quite a bit.
Yep.
So like at 60, how far up is that actually from like?
So I guess I'll jump in here.
Yeah.
We saw these comments and we agreed, like the below grade is probably the big issue where the base is sitting. So we're gonna get our sign survey done just to see kind of what level it needs to be coming from. I'm guessing the eastbound side. Westbound side, you're probably gonna have a problem if you're heading into the city seeing it, no matter how tall it is my hunch
Okay.
when we get that site. But if you get something moderately tall from the other side, it probably can be seen pretty visibly. But we're gonna get a sign study done just to get that exact answer.
So your current request of 60 feet is just an estimate then, and so you're willing to go lower, especially if that sign study comes back and says 50 feet?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's our understanding that that's taken care of kind of at a later date, the signage approval.
That would be my preference.
Yeah.
Is
I think we would agree, yeah.
Sign approvals at a later date?
The
Just some feedback now is
So
what we're given?
let's say this project is approved minus anything that has to do with signs, and the
Okay.
sign would be totally separate. So the direction
Okay.
would be is Kwik Trip has to comply with the sign code or apply for variances.
Okay. My general feedback on the sign is I want it tall enough that it helps your business succeed,
Okay.
but not tall enough that, you can see it from Rogers. So,
I think that probably echoes what we want.
right.
Yeah.
And, when it comes, go ahead on this type.
Depends on where in Rogers. It's right there.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, no,
And I was going to say with the square footage, I know we did something different with the last Kwik Trip, but we also did it because you guys might have some additional commercial pads, and that's where the signage was going to go. I guess, and I know you're trying to take these signs one by one, but the cat scale to me is a little bit of a question. Separate sign, like if that sign goes away, I guess I could see the point of having more square footage on the bigger sign.
Sure, yeah.
And so I guess that would be my question to you is how important is that smaller cat sign?
That I don't know. That might be CAT dictated, the company CAT, but we'll get an answer to that for council as well.
You're talking the one on the pole mounted.
No, I think he's talking about
I'm talking the shorter one.
middle
Like,
one.
if
Yeah.
the shorter one just went
The
away.
drive-through one?
Yeah, because like
Yeah.
on that photo, it's like kind of like, yeah, whatever. But in my mind, it's like once you know there's a Catskill there, why
You
do you
need
need
a
a big
sign
sign
there, yeah.
saying Catskill? I mean, you know it's there. So,
Unless they mandate it.
Unless they mandate it, yeah. So
Unless-
we'll get to the bottom of that also.
yeah. Because it seems like one or the other is the answer, which would decrease the square footage
Totally
of the
agree.
other sign if you didn't do that.
Yeah, totally agree.
Question, so for ground signs, we have kind of two different criteria. One is pylon signs, which is shown, and then we also have brick signs. And so the question really, and we had, believe we had a similar discussion for the Kwik Trip on 81, is, to me, obviously the bigger one is going to be a pylon sign, but for the smaller one that would be on this corner, is there a preference for brick versus the pylon? So this is a pylon that is shown.
And when you say, can I clarify? When you
Yep.
say brick, are you talking about like a base
Like a
monument sign?
yeah.
I mean, this is not a residential area
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination. It's never going to be. So I don't see the purpose of spending a bunch of money to make a sign look pretty for a truck driver. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with truck drivers, but like, they're not going to be like,
It could be just a
oh.
gas station person
Like-
too. You're going to go to the gas station.
Yes, you're going to a gas station. Like, I'm not like, oh, well, this is a fancy Kwik Trip. Like, just.
So when,
That's the point
I'll
of
say
adding
when we
that.
designed Dayton Parkway, I mean, we did design it to be fancy and pretty.
Well, yeah, that's Dayton Parkway, but like, this is like that, and that's not where this is.
It is.
Well,
What is,
it
but
is
I mean,
Dayton Parkway.
It's not
It's the
in the
beginning of it.
pretty part of it, right? Like, it's the right off the highway part of it. Like, the right off the highway part of it. And, like, when you look at the other business that's right across the road, that is not a pretty business. It's a, like,
I'm with you, Sarah, but keep in mind someday that business might go away. It's going to be a long time. So,
but at that point, then they can upgrade to a pretty brick sign then, I guess. Like, it
but
just
they don't
seems
need. That's why we're
silly.
doing this process because they
know,
might
it
not need to.
It just seems
I'm actually
silly
with
to
Sarah.
spend the money on that.
Peter, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to see and Google's not up to date on the
Not helping you.
Kwik Trip on 81. But I'm thinking about, who's going to be using this and how they're coming through and how they're finding it. It's going to be the highway users.
Yes.
The smaller 25-foot sign, I'm even questioning, besides maybe an entrance sign, is that even needed? If that's kind of where I'm questioning of what,
And so you're saying they're allowed two signs, but another way to maybe get more square footage is if you got rid of one of the signs altogether. So is that kind of one other way
Yeah.
to say it? Because you give it more square footage lenience.
that's just kind of my head, or maybe it's just a smaller, does it need to be the digital, or is it more of the entrance sign like you see at some of them?
Sure. Yep.
Certainly a cost savings for you guys as well.
And I do think a fair number of residents are going to use this,
Oh,
meaning that's
oh,
right on
yeah.
the freeway is the in and out of Dayton. So,
Yeah.
But
Well,
they know where it's at.
yeah, they'll know where it's at. Know where
They'll know where it's at. You can those large pylon signs you can generally see. You'll be able to see this from 81. Depending on the orientation, I guess, are you going to be able to read the gas or not? But probably not.
I'm anti-sign. And I always will be. Even certain parts of the highway you drive, it's just all signs. Like think of Highway 10 up past.
Yeah,
like
Ramsey.
It's all big signs, right? And it doesn't look good. I'm fine with a taller sign at the corner because that's just kind of what you need to get the freeway presence and to drive people off the freeway to use your business. I'd be excited to see kind of what your sign survey says, and if we can get that down to 50 feet or whatever and still be successful. I think by the time you're on Dayton Parkway, you already know the Kwik Trip's there. You've just driven past a 60-foot tall sign. If you're coming from the freeway side, and you'll see the building. If you're coming from Dayton, you probably know it's there already, and you'll see the building and nice landscaping, and you have a sign on your building right there. I would encourage us to just as short of a sign as possible. I mean, it's cool to have one there. It's good to have one there, but I'd minimize that. I don't know. I just don't think it's necessary, and it is part of Dayton Parkway. I know it's industrial, but it's still an entrance to our city.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, that's good feedback.
Do you
And-
have an opinion on the
Appreciate it.
brick versus?
I'm not gonna look to force them to add money to put brick. I mean, brick is nice, but I don't know.
I'd rather have a small sign
Yeah.
that's pylon than a big sign that's brick. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just shorter. I mean, if it makes sense to have a brick base, it's great, but I don't know. I mean, your building's bricks. You already got masons out there. I mean, you can,
Okay, I'm trying to remember when we went through this on 81. I want to say that did we have a sign limit to like 16 feet or something in height, or?
We had to grant a lot of, we had variances on height and size, I remember that. And part of the variance was that we said that, well, each individual business, as they fill in, aren't gonna have their own sign, they're gonna
Be
piggyback
a
on that
combined
sign.
I think we said that
Yeah.
we didn't want to see a bunch of lots subdivided and each have their own freestanding
Yeah.
pylon or monument, so let's
Yeah.
just make maybe one that could be shared with the entrance, I think is kind of the way it went.
Yeah.
I just looked over at the two Kwik Trips on 610 in Brooklyn Park. One of the stores 880, just to help you.
Thank you.
But both of those are they're right off 610. They obviously aren't going to get the truck traffic like this one will. So, but they both have the shorter monument signs, the almost ground mounted.
Yeah, yep.
With little little brick facade and then the.
I mean, if you guys want that in place of the second 25-foot tall
That's-
one, I think we can easily look at doing that when we complete the sign study.
That's what I would be in
Okay.
prefer of the 25-foot one.
I think it makes
From that
sense.
entrance.
Yeah, I think it
You've
makes sense.
convinced
to
me.
my-
I do too, yeah.
That's
And I get you gotta check in with cat, but to me, the ugliest sign is the cat sign
Yeah.
next to the scale of the whole situation. You might even agree.
No comment, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm hearing kind of a consensus from the commission of a, I'll call it a masonry ground sign for the smaller sign, 25-foot sign that goes on the corner, and then to address this as a variance. The taller pylon sign.
I have a question about the second cat scale, the smaller one, standalone one. Is that almost just an entrance to it? Like,
It's over the exact middle of it, I think, but
yeah.
yes.
on
So
the
it,
property.
does
Yeah,
that
it's not
even?
facing the street?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, so in some ways, that's not even really a sign so much as this is where you need to go to do the thing you're doing.
It's-
Once
It's a
they're there
sign.
to weigh, they know where to go.
Okay.
So we have, the code has directional signage, but they're like 4 square feet. So I mean, it's the enter, exit, not the big advertising. This is an advertising
Okay.
sign.
And just to clarify too, for the 25-foot sign that we're requesting something lower, I'm fine with it being digital or displaying
Okay.
like gas prices and stuff like that, because I recognize that really helps business and people, right, to see what the gas price is. And there's a lot of people that dictate where they're buying their gas based on the price. I'm not one. I just go into the
Yeah.
first gas station that I can turn right in and right out, so I don't have to cross an intersection.
I'm the same
but,
way.
you know, but I see that as a benefit, so I wouldn't say get rid of that.
Okay.
I don't know what the other commissioners think about that.
I concur.
Yeah, the dynamic portion of that is fine.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
totally within code.
But,
Okay, anything else specific to signage? Nope. Okay, so next is parking. So, and I think, I don't know if we really need to discuss it, it's more of an explanation. So, the parking stalls as drawn out are 9.5 feet, whereas they're required to be 10. We do need more information to calculate the number of parking stalls that are required. I have no doubt that we can figure out how to solve this. And then there's, got that on here twice. There's a minimum 20-foot setback for parking lots. When this is drawn out, it's at 16.5. Again, there's enough space to meet that 20-foot setback, so it's not going to be an issue.
So we can presume that setback's gonna be taken care of?
Yes.
The only question I have on the parking width is, I know this came up on the apartment building where they requested going down to 9 feet because they said that was standard. and maybe Dean can even provide some feedback, is our 10 in excess? Because we've heard it a couple times.
The 10 might be, I think it varies kind of what we see everyone put it in between 9 and 10.
In between 9 and 10?
I think so.
I
Nine-
would say from my experience, like 9 is kind of your minimum, like
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Yeah.
9.5, like 10 is generous.
Yeah. And so maybe 10's appropriate for a high traffic
Yeah,
place.
place a lot of in and out.
Yeah,
Just
I
a
don't
little
know.
Room with pickup trucks and.
Vehicles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, they're not, but they feel like they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
I just had a pickup truck that had, the double wheel on both sides.
Yeah.
It literally
Yeah.
filled the entire
Flares.
lane on 169.
Yeah.
So I don't think this comment is something that's too difficult for us to modify.
Yeah.
I also don't think that there's an issue on the total number of stalls.
So,
I don't know that, but we can figure that out.
Yeah, I think it's about 7,500 square feet is kind of what we've been told on for retail.
So this is kind of a unique scenario too, with the stalls and the business. I'm one who I'll usually go inside the store, park my truck underneath the canopy, fill up on gas and go inside the store and leave the truck there for a few minutes. I would consider those, as we're talking about, if we're short that many stalls, we have to consider those because 25%, 30% customers do that. And so,
I moved my car to give the gas pump in
You
there.
seem like, I would have guessed
less
that.
concerned.
I would have guessed that.
but I pay inside. I pay inside before I fuel. So
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah,
I can't
that's
do
all
that.
I did.
But that's part of this, right?
Yeah.
Is
For sure.
is the
That's a
type of
legit point.
use of the store, and if we're short, 15 stalls, count those.
Yeah, I think it's a business use thing at that point, right? I mean, if being short 15 stalls impacts your business, they're going to find a place
Right.
to get more stalls.
I think when the plan gets modified, I'm more confident there won't be a shortage. But if there is, we can talk about that. I think it's going to be fine based on if we use about 7,000 or 8,000. I think we have enough.
If we're talking you're short 25 stalls, and you can't fit 25 stalls under your canopy, that's a little different.
Right.
Okay. Anything on parking, or anything more on parking?
Just to sum it up, when there's a site plan approval request, so we're going to assume that everything's going to comply with code
Yes.
at this point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have an issue making them code compliant on the sizing, and I think the number is going to hit the minimum requirement.
Okay.
Okay. And just, we haven't talked about this. Truck stalls, I believe there's 36 stalls. I'm assuming that someone would ask that at some point, but
Do those count in my
I-
requirement?
no.
They don't?
Well,
So, I remember last time this was
I'd have to-
presented, and I'm just
thinking
kind
about
of
that.
reiterating because it left here and went to the council, but I remember the past planning commission chair had some questions about, are you leaving enough overhang for people when they back in, so they're not backing in the trees and landscaping? Just kind of repeating that to make sure that that's the case, and.
Trash in the bushes.
Right, and I don't know,
Yeah.
when Peter is looking at the site, and I'm
The
looking at it
thousands of
now, it's
bushes?
kind of like, I just, the one thing I want to make sure,
Okay.
because otherwise it's, why waste the,
Why
and they
waste the
do back
trees?
in, and they do
Yep.
back
I
until
mean,
their
they're
tires hit.
designed to, but most of those stalls are back in.
Yeah,
stalls.
they back till their tires hit.
Yep. That's a good comment.
landscaping, so again, what
One-
is,
Before the truck stalls,
Yep.
I think it's important, I know that, maybe when you're talking to council, some people are hung up on the trucking component of it, is I think it's important to note that it is only
36?
6 stalls. I mean, there's a lot of truck stops that are 100+ stalls.
Mhm.
And so the smaller scale, I think, might help, is going to alleviate some concerns, in my opinion.
Do you have a calculation of right now what code requires for parking?
I think it's 58 at 15,000. Hang on. So the buildings itself was 14,500. And there's 250 per, right? 58 plus 2, 60 even, I think is what we need.
Okay. So you
But
have
I-
100 including the truck stops.
Yes.
And see, I would argue that the truck stalls would count for parking stalls. I mean, they're
Customers.
They're going to use,
they're
Customers.
customers
Yeah,
of the
well,
retail.
going to use the showers, the whatever.
It's
They're just
it's-
customers who have to park in a very specific spot.
Yeah.
And where other customers are not allowed to park,
I
or
mean,
shouldn't
it's-
if they're.
Do they have to pay to park there?
No.
Yeah. And someone with
if someone has a horse trailer
Yeah.
or a boat, they might,
Yeah.
like,
They
the
might-
other customers are gonna park in those spots too if they're
motorhome.
hooked up. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Those should count as parking.
They should count as parking stalls.
Yep, I'm not concerned that we'll be able to meet it.
Okay.
I agree.
I think that's, for the type of use it is, it should.
Agree.
Well, and then also, so it's not just a truck stop, right? Like, this is also, if you have,
Yep.
you know, whether it's a boat or a trailer or RV, you want to go to a Kwik Trip that's this size because you cannot park your truck and trailer at a tiny one. So, like, it's not just a truck stop having those bigger spaces.
We get a lot of positive feedback
Yeah.
on sizes that are this large for people who do that exact same
Yeah.
thing, pull a trailer, pull a boat, and
Yeah.
pull jet skis, and they can't navigate around some of our tighter sites.
Yeah.
They really appreciate having that
So
separate diesel canopy.
They take a truck stall instead of 8 individual stalls.
Yeah.
going the
Or
other
even just
direction.
having a separate place to fill it up. They always
Yeah.
try and finagle it on the
Yeah,
end of the
because
fuel
you just
canopy. Yeah,
can't
it's
do
really
it.
hard.
Yeah. Having tried to help navigate horse trailers with horses in them while you're draining gas, like, it is nicer.
You
if
generally
it
have one
just-
person, if they want to fill up at normal stores, sucking up all the pumps on the end.
Yes, yeah, that's not.
Whenever I park at Menards, I gotta do this with my horse trailer.
And they're like half the time they're kind of sticking back into like where the entrance is.
Yeah,
Everywhere else
yeah.
is like trying to around.
Exactly, so.
Okay. Next item is landscaping. So again, landscaping requirements are based on the size of the property. We've run into this in previous projects or on larger lot subdivisions. So in this case, the code or the site plan is compliant with the tree requirement, but in shrubs, it requires 1,700 shrubs, whereas 557 are proposed. I guess my suggestion, and this is what we've done in the past, is we would have Kwik Trip present 2 site plans or landscaping plans. One is with the 557 shrubs, and the other one is with the 1,700 shrubs, and demonstrating of why 1,700 shrubs is not practical.
You know, just a question though is, are we seeing 557? Because I mean, it looks packed with shrubs.
It's a 10-acre site, so
Yep.
it's hard to.
I mean, at some point it kind of gets comical, doesn't it?
Well, because if you put too many in, they're gonna die.
If you put too many in, well, obviously if you maintain it good, it's not an issue, but it's a maintenance nightmare in 10
Yeah.
years too.
Well, that's the other thing is, yeah, it's just,
They're gonna grow.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
just
the trees
seems-
are gonna have more impact on the experience in the space than the shrubs do.
Yeah.
What's our way around this? Is it variance or?
No,
have to
it's
look at
it's not. So
this
what
one
we've
too.
done in the past is kind of case by case, and,
Yeah.
and you know, so if anything else, I would say if we're not going to meet code, then it'd be a variance. But with landscaping, it's very site specific. You know, so I guess my suggestion again would be to present 2 different plans. One of what it is that Kwik Trip wants, and then the second is to be compliant with the code, and then that would the 1,700 shrub plan would demonstrate of whether it's practical or not.
So just the visual of what it looks like with
Right,
the
so
code
it
compliant.
might be, you know, let's say it's, you end
you
up with
can't stack
600.
them, you know.
Yeah.
Five space for all of them.
570 already showing.
Yeah,
Let
and
alone
it's,
tripling.
Triple it, yeah.
I just think that's a waste of time to show that.
I think it is a waste of
I
time.
mean, we already know in this case.
So
I don't
would
know,
I
unless
have a
it's-
consensus that you're okay with with what's being proposed at 557?
I'm okay.
I'm okay with it.
less.
If they're meeting the tree requirement, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we do a site plan approval, do we have to say anything specific about the landscaping?
It would help having reasoning, so if we're allowing a reduction without a variance and saying what the justification of
Well, if
that
the
is.
logic was our code is based upon the site area minus the building area, and it's not factoring in the hardscaped area, that's the logic in my mind, right there, done.
You gotta check the code again.
Because we've got a lot of hardscaped area here.
Yeah.
And we do meet pervious surface and like stormwater management requirements and everything.
Yes, and I'm trying to think of, can't remember if I have the staff report or if it's in the, it's separate.
For the percentage, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, impervious. We're below the maximum by
Okay.
quite a bit.
You know, unrelated, John, but historically, we've got the Jason's engineering report with a lot of these applications. I've noticed we're not getting it anymore, just,
Yeah, so let me address that at the end of the meeting.
Okay, thank
So impervious surface, we allow up to 80% and 55% is what's proposed.
okay.
Yeah, so we already have more pervious surface than the code would
Yep.
require.
How on
and they
earth
still
would they
can't.
get the shrubs? Yeah,
Yeah,
how would you?
that's-
It's replacing grass with shrubs.
Yeah.
But I mean, physically, if they could
Yeah.
have by rights had even more pavement,
Oh, sure.
physically, where would they have put
Even the
Th-
550.
there's-
even the
there's-
500 shrubs?
It's hard to
They
believe
can
that
barely
that's only
fit 500 shrubs in
55%,
as it is.
Yeah,
That's just nonsensical.
yeah.
Because also they're expensive. Like, why would you purposely plant something that you know is not going to be able to thrive because you've planted it so tightly packed with its neighbors that they're all going, like, plants need space to live. The code needs to be changed.
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
Thank you. Come on, John.
So again, what I'm hearing the consensus is that the landscaping plan is fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the 80% maximum.
80% impervious maximum. Yeah.
How on earth would you fit that many? Okay, sorry. Just doesn't make any sense.
That is all I have.
It's good.
Questions?
This was useful discussion, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it helps you're the only one on the agenda. So, you know, still have 2 more hours
We
to
could
go.
talk all night. Let's talk about shrubs.
All right. Any further discussion or questions for the applicant?
I don't have any more questions for
No.
the applicant.
I'll just summarize. So the parking summary is on one of our keynotes. It looks like we have 36 standard stalls and 4 handicap stalls outside of what you see on the truck stalls and under the canopy. So there's 20 places to park the car under the fuel canopy, 5 under the base canopy. So if we're not including any of those, 40 is the number that we have. And backing into that calculus, 40 times 250, 10,000. I think we're less than 10,000 of retail space, for sure.
Yeah, my opinion is
40 stalls
all
is a
the
lot.
stalls should
How
count.
many
And if you guys can, your business model supports 40 vehicle stalls, then I'm fine with it.
About
How many employees per shift?
Peak time, it'll be like 12, and then when slow down, probably between
Okay.
4 and 6, 4 and 8. Somewhere like that.
Okay. With what was just said, John, do you think that you could still work with the parking? 10,000? The store's going to be 14,000?
Yeah, I still think we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I do
mean,
Okay. Even with the slightly bigger stalls, you might lose some stalls?
You know, we still have, it's.
Meaning, like, if we make a site plan approval based upon them complying, that's what I'm going through my head.
Yeah, so if nothing else, I mean, we're gonna figure this out before it goes to the council. So, you know, whatever, like, I understand the direction that you guys are going, but it's still, it's a recommendation, and the council will, you know, if there's a problem, we'll figure it out by the council will be able to react to it.
Where do you encourage your employees to park? Along that first row of parking away from the building?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, those stalls could be narrower if it's employees coming and parking and staying.
Right.
Where I kind of agree with the high use, high turnaround, having a wider stall is a benefit for everybody and could reduce minor incidents.
That's a good point. If you need to create some more stalls, I'd be okay with that.
If we have an issue with it, we'll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'm just struggling if we recommend approval of this site plan, but then it changes significantly and the council is wondering what we think, and we don't know because we didn't see that. We didn't see how it changed. And
So
I don't think it's going to be the case from what you're saying, but
If we're short, so I guess the 2 scenarios I can see is either a variance to the number of parking stalls or a variance to the setback, or the size of the parking
the size of
stalls
some
themselves.
stalls in particular,
The 3
like
different.
Paul mentioned.
Or we can do an ordinance amendment to reduce the parking size or number of parking stalls. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go with this.
I am very comfortable saying we won't be short.
Okay.
I think half the building is going to be kitchen, bathroom, shower,
Got it.
storage, office. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Non-retail area.
All right.
And we still have a 10-plus acre site to work with.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna make a motion, and you guys can discuss it more if there needs be, but I'm gonna make a motion to approve the zoning change from BP to B3. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the preliminary and final plat as presented. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the CUP for motor fuel. And I'm gonna make a motion to approve the site plan as presented, subject to it complying to the zoning code for parking, but not landscaping. So complying with the landscaping plan presented.
Okay, so I'm gonna say compliant with the city code as it regards to parking.
Because that's what we're saying we're gonna do.
Yep.
You guys are good, yep.
And landscaping as presented is fine.
Is not
the way it is.
with the shrubs as presented, yep.
And the signage will deal with.
Signage we're gonna be silent on, and that we're assuming the accessory buildings are attached.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion from Brown, a second from Crossland. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We'll get to the bottom of all those questions before the council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this will go to the council May 25th.
I'll be here. See you guys.
Thank you.
All right, there is no other new business. Notice and announcements.
So I guess the first, our next meeting is going to be on the 4th of July. I'm happy that we'll all be here.
June? Don't we have a June meeting
June,
first?
yes. So June, let's
June 6th.
let's stick with the calendar here. So June 6th is the next meeting. This is a heavy meeting, so right now I've got 8 items on the agenda.
Wow.
So just because I know you guys are curious where we are. I have an interim use permit on non-domesticated animals, a text amendment for commercial kennels, an interim use permit for commercial kennels, 4 concept plans, and a text amendment on driveway aprons. My suggestion, because 8 items is quite a bit, if you would like to separate these into a second meeting specific to the concept plans. I guess my opinion is that, the more, 2 of these are going to be a fairly big deal. Well, no, 3 out of the 4 are going to be a fairly long conversation.
The concept plans.
Yeah.
We're starting at 5 again, or 5:30 or something.
Yeah, I just don't want a meeting to run super late, not because I don't necessarily want to be here, but we're all fried and we don't
Yeah.
give things the attention it needs to at the end.
I'm not sure I'd want all of the concept plans packed though together. I'd almost want to split the concept plans because that's what starts to fry my brain. And if we're going to have those big long conversations, then I almost want to split those 2 and 2 so that we can.
Well, wait, before we talk about splitting it,
Okay.
let's talk, because it goes hand in hand, the meeting after that
Is
July
July.
4th. And so do we have anything coming in for July, the July that needs to be, that has a deadline?
Today, no.
Okay.
I do expect that 1 or 2 items will come in that would go for July.
Okay, so what I was talking to John about prior, he didn't tell me he told me the number, just not what was on what my thought was is to have maybe 2 shorter meetings in June, skip 4th of July week, and if we can skip July altogether.
So 2 June meetings, and
Possibly
if it works, skip July altogether, if the
That
workflow permits that.
That would be my thought.
Okay, the one thing I need to be mindful of is, when we have an application, like we're under a 60-day rule. So if it's 2 June meetings, it'd be like the last weekend in June.
So like June 27th,
Yeah.
which is where would be one of the options to move the July 4th meeting to anyway.
I don't know if we have any conflicts.
And obviously, all the text amendments can wait if necessary.
No.
Not all of them, but
no.
some of them.
One of them. I mean, there's 2 text amendments. One is city generated, another is
Directly related to the concept plan?
No, to the kennel interviews.
Y'all got it.
Are you asking me about the 27th specifically?
Yes. No, I have a conflict.
Yeah, June's my busy month.
I think we're okay as far as the chambers goes. Yeah, we're good.
You know, I would say, you know, with 8 items, I mean, there's nothing to say that you guys can't go, you know, you just assume it's, I don't know, 20 minutes or 15 minutes per item.
The best thing to help an item move fast, though, is, and sometimes we don't always have them with concept plans, is a really good packet with everything known, so we can all prepare, and it seems like we have to figure a lot out here.
Yeah.
That's what makes them sometimes go longer, in my opinion.
John, what was the other text amendment?
Driveway aprons. So, I mean, that's,
okay.
That can wait.
it can wait, but
Thanks.
also everyone's discussed it. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that can be done in 5
Oh,
minutes or
that's
less.
We've spent a lot of time on driveways.
You just can't rediscuss it. I mean, if your mind's made up. That will also save time.
That's a good point.
I mean, we shouldn't talk just for the sake of it.
Well, no, but I mean, like, even like the beginning of this meeting, we already started talking about it again, which just creates more time. I'm not saying it's not important or it's not valid, it just creates more time if the decision's already
Valid.
made.
Battling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to say my recommendation is to stick with the one meeting in June and be mindful of where we're at in time. If we run out of time, just table the other items until.
The only problem I have with that is we have had several meetings go very late, and we have a lot of applicants who are going to be at that
Wait.
meeting. And so to be mindful of our applicants as well.
Because then they sit around and wait for 3 hours, and then
And
we're like,
not-
man, we're not going to talk about you. You got to
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah, that, I find that actually, even just sitting around for 3 hours or waiting for them to come on, I get it, it's the process. We can do better on our end.
Is there-
Sometimes these concept plans never come to fruition, they drop off. Do you feel pretty confident about all these happening?
No, I don't.
I mean, that's, I know we're talking about it, but, yeah.
Is one of those the North Diamond?
Yep.
Or is it realistic to start the meeting earlier, just to
Yeah,
prevent
I
it
would
from going so
prefer
late?
to start early and
but-
just see what we can get done.
Yeah, start at 6 or 5:30.
I mean, we can even take a 10-minute recess partway through to stretch our legs, which we haven't done before, right? Just to reset. I don't know.
Use the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm okay if,
I don't know.
I guess that we've been told and warned to be mindful of time and be prepared, and I'm okay if we have to try to rush it through, but I guess, when will you know who's really on the docket?
I do right now. There's one or two that I think I would suspect they would apply for July. I can try to encourage them to do this like now and get it pushed on to June.
So those 8 are already have applied and
They've
said that we
already
want to go
applied.
June.
Yes, and that 8 includes the driveway apron. So again, I'm assuming that's a 5-minute discussion, nothing more than that.
I'd prefer to do it one night, just because June's super busy.
I can make one night work. I think if we're committed to it, though, like, if we got one item left and it's 10 o'clock, I think we got to get through it.
Pack a
Say it
snack
before
and-
we discuss it at 10 o'clock. If we've made them sit that long, we just got to get through it.
Yeah, pack a snack, bring some drinks.
Some coffee.
We'll have coffee. We'll get it.
You can make coffee.
Yep. Okay, what time would you like to start?
I have flexibility, meaning I can start as early as, I can start early.
Noon?
I got a lot of flexibility. But, so I'd let out these, if you guys
I
have
have
any
flexibility
choices.
as well, because
Yeah, I can
it's
too.
summer. I'm a teacher. I have more flexibility then.
Yeah, I can start 5:30, 6.
I mean, 5:36 shouldn't be a problem.
With that many items, I would recommend 5:30 or 5:15 if you can.
Can we put the ones that are the least likely to actually happen at the bottom of the list, so that if we give them the least amount of our, like,
I would say, I would like to put what I think are the quickest ones at the beginning.
yeah, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, if some of these concept plans are things that are probably never gonna happen anyway, and they just wanna come and talk.
They all think they're gonna happen.
Okay,
So,
they all think they're
Yeah,
gonna
I
happen.
don't think
assume
that, I don't think
they're all
that's,
over the
yeah,
developers.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair.
I hate them. I hated them before, and nothing has changed.
Okay, so 5:30?
I would say with that, John, let's not put the quickest item first. If they're developers, let's put our residents first.
Those are the quicker items.
Okay.
I think
I
that's a
think,
good way to do it.
I think just in general, let's start doing that.
Residents first, developers
Residents
last.
first, developers second.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I like that.
Residents, businesses, developers.
Okay.
That's good.
Just to help drive that process. I didn't think about that.
That's good.
Earlier.
So June 6th at 5:30?
Let's do it.
Can you update the calendar? Oh,
The
maybe
outlook?
that's, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. So July. Again, this doesn't have to be solved right now, but I do need to know if there's a preference to cancel the July meeting. Again, if I get an application, there's a possibility that it would go straight to the council without planning commission review, which shouldn't happen, or should not happen.
I mean, I'd be okay on the 11th.
What's
Push it
the
a week if
what's the
it's needed.
timeline, John, here that you're talking about?
I'm expecting to get an interim use permit for a home business, home extended business. But what I'll do is I'll try to push them to get on the June agenda.
I mean,
Another?
July
Another
11th.
one, yeah.
What's wrong with July 11th?
I don't have a problem with July 11th, if that's needed.
You do.
I do, but
What-
Amy can do this.
My other thought is
Maybe we'll have a planner by then.
maybe not the 11th. Maybe we go to the 18th and we try to. I mean, we've had we've had a lot of long meetings.
Couldn't do the 18th.
Let's just maybe try to space things out a little bit while we have a couple lighter meetings, and then if we get an opportunity to cancel one, we do it.
We'll
Yeah.
do it on the 19th.
So tentatively put July 18th
That
down,
was my
And
thought.
if there's not enough items, move them all to the next meeting.
Does that work?
I'm sorry, let's just write it. July 18th.
Tentatively, and if there's not enough items, or if those items can be moved to the next meeting, just move them to the next meeting, we'll do it then. But if it
Okay.
gets to be too much,
July 18th.
I don't know. I was just thinking. I'm just thinking from the standpoint of, we've had we don't get to cancel very much, so take advantage of it.
Sure, so, to be
You don't
clear,
like being with
anything
us?
that is considered by the planning commission on July 18th would then go to the city council on Tuesday the 30th. I still have a week to write staff reports.
oh, you're good then.
We're good.
I would have a conflict on the 18th, just to
Oh,
note that, but if the rest of the commission is okay.
I'm fine.
I'm available.
I
Well,
guess
I'm not
I won't
available.
know yet, but I won't know till. I should be okay.
Okay.
Do I have an update?
Yep.
So we do have commission seats coming up July. And it is Peter, let me get to the planning page, and Paul are both up for 24. So you're welcome to reapply, and/or if you know anyone that would like to apply, that would be fantastic as well.
All right.
They're required to reapply.
Sure. But yeah, so technically terms run until July 1st. So we'll start advertising that and know that you'll see an application coming your way soon, so hopefully you'll reapply.
So following up on one of Darren's comments on the engineering review, So one of the things that I've intended to do when I started working here is to try to figure out how the commission and the council thinks, and I just never got into quite had the time to delve into that. But and it's for as you guys know, so prior to working here, I was on the planning commission, and it gave me a good appreciation of how commissioners and the council members process staff reports. So the planning commission packets are lighter than what they used to be. There's not as much information; it's more condensed. I don't know if that's helpful for you guys, or any more helpful or less helpful. So I guess my question, starting out, is what would you like in the packets?
Well, my easiest answer is it depends. Meaning tonight's Kwik Trip, the way you hit the critical issues was great. But certain other properties, it's not just all the critical issues. It's you're talking more things than just it's like bigger concept issues, especially concept plans sometimes.
Well, and where I find the engineering reports extremely helpful, like this, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's one site, one user. But when we talk a neighborhood or a business park where there's multiple users, multiple things coming in and out from maybe it's 3 parcels being combined, that's where I find that stuff much more useful. This is pretty typical in this application, and also you see gas stations and you use them all over the place. It's really easy to envision it. Other buildings, not so much. Some of the stuff we've had come in is,
Napkin designs.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what some of them are where they've come in where we did think more about like turning movements or things like that as part of our discussion because we read it through the engineering packet.
Okay.
I think the engineering packet's always useful because it just shows to me if I've got a question in my head, and I'll be honest, half of what I read in the engineering report's like going over my head, right? But all of a sudden, if I have a question and it's addressed there, I know that staff is thinking about it, and that's why I like to see it.
Sure. Okay. So we have, we've got a number of people that review projects. So Jason in Stantec does a great job at the engineering review, and it's very detailed. We have police, fire, DNR, MnDOT. It's a thick list. So we draw a lot more attention to engineering because there's always an engineering report.
And our city's going to change differently because the engineering report's probably, although with that being said, I guess I'd just like to see the highlights if there's a concern from the other reports, if there's a concern.
And at some point, that's more or less what it is, even with the engineering report. It's what are the concerns or what are not the concerns, like if that makes sense.
Sure. So I'm trying to think of a good example, but I'm struggling here. I think of, Stantec will have their report, and the engineering report. I'll have a zoning report. There's several pages long. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, I'm going to say probably 80% of it you're not going to care about. But would you like to see those?
I've never seen one, so I don't have. It's hard for me to say if I do or do not need to see one.
Okay. But so what we can do, next month can be
with our 8,000 items.
We'll throw everything in there.
I think that to John's or Darren's point, some of it might help.
And we got different people with different backgrounds up here that,
I focus on the drawings.
Right, and so that's why sometimes it's better to put it in there because we're all going to gravitate to what we've either have experience in or what we care passionately more about or learning about. So it can be a good thing.
Sure. Okay.
Obviously, the most important thing is your report that you present here, but.
Okay. So next month we'll throw everything in there. It'll be a large report. As far as like the PowerPoint presentations go, this was, I'm going to say, overly simplified. Did that tell you the information that you needed to know to make a decision?
This one definitely did for me.
Well, this plus It was nice though, because if there was something out there that wasn't, I'm like, oh, I want to look at that more, I could go back to the detailed, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
I was able, so I don't mind the PowerPoint being a simplified version. Also, as having more recently been an audience member through some of them, right? I didn't read, like I skimmed the whole report, but it was nice to have it kind of summarized.
Sure.
So
Okay.
for the other people in the audience, particularly if you have a neighbor coming to speak to a thing, I think a simplified version is nice for them.
So the one thing that throws me off, and it can be cleaned up on the administrative side, is I would like to see the PowerPoints attached as part of the minutes. Because the PowerPoints, the slides don't always represent what's in the packet.
That's correct.
Sure, yep.
And so, just from an administrative standpoint, so what, sometimes you crop or zoom in on something, or your wording's a little different.
Or they
Or
give
you
you the
highlight
updated
something.
image that wasn't
Yep.
in the packet.
So just from an administrative standpoint, that'd be good.
Can you just send us the PowerPoint ahead of time, like the day before? Because I assume you're working on the PowerPoint beyond the packet.
No.
No?
No, that is, I know the council has requested the same thing, so, we can do that,
I think just part of the minutes is fine, it's just,
yeah.
I've always thought the city presentations were good. I think they help us focus in on what we need to talk about. Because
You
there's
want to see
obviously a lot
them
of information.
before the meeting or after the meeting?
so today's PowerPoint presentation would be part of the notes for next month.
So it would, I guess my interpretation, it would not be part of the official minutes, but we would include that with the minutes. So the minutes are the official record.
The
Yeah,
minutes are the
yeah.
official, so the way I would envision the next month's packet would be, you have your agenda, your minutes, your past month's
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, and then the new business
Sure.
stuff.
We can do that.
I just think from trying to have to find history on things,
Sure.
Do you get a lot of calls, John, from outsiders, brokers, appraisers, just people asking you about projects to verify stuff?
Based on what the
Based on,
commission
well, because
said or
when
something?
land sales and development starts
Yeah.
occurring, that's how people verify stuff to try to understand the transaction. And the one thing we don't do that some other cities do is we don't really have a good minutes to begin with as far as searchable. And so that's why people call you or email you, is to find the information, because it's not that simple. Where other cities, you can type in the name of the development and boom, there's the link to the minutes.
Sure. That's something we should be looking
And,
at.
and with the point where
So
where the
staff
staff gets
has that.
overwhelmed by calls is the more importance
Right.
of, hey, you can just go find it.
I do
But if you're not being
not.
overwhelmed with calls, it's not an
I
urgency.
do get a few calls. I have the capability of putting in keywords and searching minutes.
You know,
We don't have a way, or we don't have the software to display that on our website. So if, like, I've helped a few of you with questions specifically to find something, and it takes me probably 5 minutes to find something that may have taken you an hour of searching. So, or like, oh, I don't remember what date, or, so yeah, if you have questions, I'm happy to help answer them.
yeah, and that was related to Peter's minutes, but again, a lot of cities, what I see is in not only the packet, but the packet's like searchable, so you can
Yep.
find stuff, so you don't have to bug people at the city for it.
Yeah, so the example I'm thinking of
Yeah, we don't post our website.
is you have more of a, I'm gonna say, a GIS-based searchable database where you can click on that property and find the whole history of any,
They're not that sophisticated, John.
more sophisticated than what we're capable of doing.
Right. I just go to the city's
Typic-
website, type in the name of the development, and that's how I find it, on
Yeah,
their search engine.
typically on the search engine, it'll pop up in their.
We are looking at a new
minutes,
website
yeah.
provider, and we're hoping that that is one of the solutions, because our current website is not
Right.
user-friendly on the administrative side either.
Okay. Anything else?
I do really like how when the zoning code applies and there's standards, that you put the code, and then, just
Yeah.
because
That's nice.
some of these projects, I just literally have to go read the code, and I'm assuming you're doing that already when you cross-check it, is if you put it in the packet, then I can just cross-check it, so I really like that.
So I'm gonna assume the code is about 1,000 pages long, and I never wanna memorize it, so I
Great
have to
case.
take good notes.
Yep.
What I found not unique to Dayton is there are sections of the code that contradict each other, and so it's good to, no way. And you only find that out by searching through the code. And I'm going to say it's our own fault. By every time we change the code, it's like a domino effect that affects other parts of the code, and you can't see where all the effects are. Okay. All right. So Thursday, June 6th at 5:30, we'll have coffee.
Sounds good. Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Right?
Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned.